The Business of Biotech is produced by Life Science Connect and its community of learning, solving, and sourcing resources for biopharma decision makers. If you're working on biologics process development and manufacturing challenges, you need to swing by bioprocessonline.com. If you're trying to stay ahead of the cell or gene therapy curve, visit cellandgene.com. When it's time to map out your clinical course, let clinicalleader.com help. And if optimizing outsourcing decisions is what you're after, check out outsourcepharma.com. We're Life Science Connect, and we're here to help. On my swing through San Francisco, I had the pleasure of sitting down to record episodes with a handful of Flagship Pioneering CEO partners, including today's guest, Sail Biomedicines CEO Dr. Guillaume Pfefer. You're likely aware that Sail was just formed up in Q4 of last year, the product of Flagship's decision to merge Senda Biosciences and Laronde, two of its programmable medicine platform companies. What you likely haven't heard is the inside story on how the merger was executed, how the two companies are integrating their talent, IP, and resources, and what Dr. Pfefer and team are currently doing to take the fruits of the company's platform into the clinic. I'm Matt Pillar. This is the Business of Biotech. And on today's episode, we're getting under the hood of Sail Biomedicines with Dr. Guillaume Pfefer. Let's give it a listen. When did you come here from France?
23 years ago, something like that.
23 years, yeah. Well, you're holding on to that accent nicely. I know.
Unfortunately, we die with the accent, but
well, I know.
We decided to become American. The kids speak beautiful with accent English, but we try with my wife with some very fake French accent.
Yeah. I know a lot of folks who have come over from various places who've lost it over time, you know.
For some reason, it's not in me.
That's good. That's good. Hang on to that. Hang on to that. So
I have a choice.
I'm going to ask you questions about you and how you got into science and that kind of thing in a bit. But I want to start with the more recent news. Well, we'll start with the Q4 news, right? So in Q4, Flagship, which by the way, I'm a huge fan of Flagship.
Great.
Yeah, great. You know, as someone who covers the space, it's just such a target-rich environment, and the people are terrific, friendly, easy to work with, transparent. So good company.
There's a ton of energy in the ecosystem, and we are fearless when it comes to trying to make an impact in this world, not only on the health side, but you're probably aware of the sustainability effort. We're also looking to get into sustainability of pesticide, insecticide, and contribute to health and not only human health. So I'm very excited by how bold and wide we are in our views of bringing science to the benefit of humanity and health. So it's exciting to be part of the ecosystem.
It certainly is, yeah. So in Q4 last year, it was Senda and Laronde, right?
That's right.
Combined to form Sail Biomedicines. So let's start there.
Right.
What was the backstory?
We were just talking about being bold and believe in science and having a fearless and big ambition of making an impact in humankind. We have come to the realization, having been in the field as Flagship for quite some time, that we are, as an industry, on the brink of transforming deeply what we can do for patients with fully programmable medicine. If you looked at the arc of industry, we've been as an industry trying to do more with regard to raising the productivity of our discovery to development to licensed product through different ways. The last one with accessing the genetic codes and building companies such as Moderna. That program today, part of medicine, in the case of Moderna and RNA, but you can think of an island with siRNA. Can mention, obviously, BioNTech and now Pfizer on the mRNA side. We just announced we have the first CRISPR medicine on the market, also coming from this era of programming molecule, that we just cannot program medicine just yet, but it's just a matter of time now. It's not a matter of if anymore. With that context in mind, and knowing that we've been in this biotech industry for quite some time and contributing and leading some of this transformation, we come to the realization that we had in the portfolio already the maturing technology that, if combined, could create this acceleration into the future, into this era of programmable medicine. And we made a bold move to combine two of our largest and most promising companies, Laronde and Senda Biosciences, decided to put it together because they have reached the maturity, and we thought the time had come to play a very big move into accelerating our industry into the era of programmable medicine. And I will give you much more the technology of stacking, if you want, or science advance.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Into that for sure.
Yeah.
But maybe one word and one sentence more exactly that summarize the bold ambition here as a vision statement of the company that now you can appreciate with what I'm telling you with regard to this arc of the industry that led us to this industry being at the verge of fully programmable medicine. The statement for vision is generating tomorrow medicine today through the language of life. And we're seeing medicine, not just part of medicine, and we're not even aspirationally looking at discovering, but generating, give you a sense of productivity, predictability, acceleration of number of programs that can move, and actually, and we're very excited, diversity of disease that we can get into down the road. So very big move, amazing opportunity, and we hope to be contributing to making this industry a more productive one with fully programmable medicine.
Amazing opportunity, but a lot of work too. I mean, anytime you bring two companies together, there are going to be things that are there in abundance, maybe too much, right? And there are going to be things that are missing. So let's talk from your leadership perspective. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like what was, we'll start with maybe the upshot. What was synergistic, and what did you have in abundance by bringing the companies
Yes,
together?
that's a very good question. Well, one of the things that I can tell you is it makes sense for everybody involved. Board member, all of the investor, of course, or ecosystem and decision maker at Flagship, but also the team. And I'm mentioning the team last, but importantly, as you merge company, it doesn't make sense. You're fighting against, it doesn't make sense to put this thing together. In this case, half of the battle is already won because for everybody involved, it makes sense. Why it makes sense? Because we are synergistic more than overlapping. One company was advanced with one of the best next generation RNA proposition on the market with circular RNA that we coin at endless RNA. We're going to give you much more details about it, but it expands the programmation of RNA vastly beyond what is afforded today with linear RNA. This company was looking at the delivery of RNA, which is the basic LNP that, again, we can maybe come back to in the future. So commoditized delivery, very advanced RNA with endless RNA on one side, which is the Laronde side. The Senda side, we had exactly the opposite. A very novel way to actually program deployment of RNA or delivery of RNA with a very commoditized mRNA technology attached to it. All together now, we have the most comprehensive and most advanced entirely programmable RNA medicine in the industry with linear RNA, circular RNA, LNP, and natural nanoparticle all together. So that makes sense. Where we have actually synergies, some of this position, obviously, that's why we had in redundancy, and we've been able to organize ourselves to move through that transition quite swiftly. And we are now very much in position of executing. The integration 3 months in is almost behind us at this stage. And we're quite excited to be going after this it makes sense vision that we all have and put our energy into building more than integrating. So after the battle is won when you have actually a purpose that makes sense for everybody, and I'm quite excited to see that everywhere in the organization.
You used the key word integration. So when two companies merge, integration needs to happen at every level. Systems like operating systems, office systems, people. And when that integration happens, that's where sometimes what's missing reveals itself. That's where the sweat equity comes in. You got to roll up your sleeves and make things happen. So walk us through that. Like when you began that integration of the companies in earnest? Well, two-part question. I'd like to know what it looks like. I mean, did you bring these people and facilities physically together? And then two, how did you muscle through that actual marriage part, right? Yeah. I'm married. I know you got a muscle to it, right?
It is a work of every day on both sides of the table. But we are not going to play victim here. It's a work that requires a two-way collaboration, which actually brings me to something which is important here is when you have a common sense of purpose that is clear for everybody and you manage to unite energy behind it, again, you cover a lot of very necessary energy that you need to absorb the change and have people, including myself, involved into this transaction and integration, putting the extra effort to bring it together because you believe in it. You believe in what we're trying to do. So that was very important to appreciate as we announced to the team. Both companies announced at the same time to bring you into the story and what happened exactly that day where we make the announcement. We engaged separately the two teams, explained that we were merging, then brought the same day the two teams together and celebrated and started asking the question. And of course, starting with our own energy beyond the purpose and realizing we had won that battle. It makes sense for everybody we talked to. Mm-hmm. I went through another merger situation at the start of my journey with Flagship, where it was making not as much as sense. And I had to fight for months and months, actually more than a year, to build, actually even reshape the vision, to ignite the energy of one team behind one single purpose. Here, it was at the beginning pretty clear for everybody. So now, of course, you have a nitty-gritty of integrating system. We have, of course, two different systems. We have two different human resource policies. We have a bunch of legal policies and documents that needed to be harmonized. Where can I go? We have two sites and we want one site. All of that is certainly being done and prosecuted today. Mm-hmm. But again, by a team of people that believe in the mission and want to get at it and actually want to get done with it as fast as you can to move forward into building the company.
Right. Yeah. When you're trying to do great things in science and in medicine and you have a disruptive business challenge to solve, i.e. a merger, just give us pretend like you're speaking to someone who is on the cusp of seeing that for the first time.
Right. Yeah.
Some advice on how to maintain that mission-driven focus and not lose sight of that while you're distracted by this disruption of a merger.
So I hammer the sense of purpose, which I think is absolutely critical. So I'm going to put it on the side and get into another key element. Directness, transparency, or communication, and over-communicating is key. You have to make yourself and the leadership team available to the entire team. And it has to be a two-way street as far as delivering what we're trying to do and receiving from the team what they are actually experiencing. Mm-hmm. You also need to build this highly collaborative, which we have built in the two companies. So that was very nicely in place. But it has to be a collaborative work all of the way. You just cannot integrate from the top down. Everybody need to engage. And you don't want bystanders that sit in the arena and look at what's going on on the field. You want everybody to basically get at it. So now from that, it becomes harnessing the energy of people willing to put the extra work to get it done with integration, while actually building the organization. So the key additional point that I want to bring to you, beside a very strong sense of purpose and make sure that everybody sees it, is directness, transparency, and over communication, and creating a very, at least it's my style as a leader, a highly collaborative engagement that give a voice to everybody and create these ways to listen to everybody, especially when you bring new team members coming from two different organizations that actually will have to work together. Mm-hmm. So the sooner you start is processing or listening and discovering each other and respecting what everybody brings to the table, and engage this team to building together a company that we have now decided to merge is a critical part of another critical part of what you hope to be kept as we move from integration to building the company. Right. Collaborative work.
Yeah. How many people are involved in the
right company? Now we are about a little bit less than 200 people. Mm-hmm. Which is significantly higher than what we had on two companies. And of course, that brings the challenge of two sites And we have now announced actually that we're going to be moving in one single site, which I'm really looking forward to because it's going to continue to jam the organization into one organization, to be on one single site. Right now, what I'm very happy to see as I go into the two different sites of a legacy company, I'm seeing familiar face from one company in the other side and vice versa. So I'm already seeing that this highly collaborative work is already happening on the ground. And I just cannot wait to see everybody under one roof. Which, fortunately, we made the decision now that we're going to be in one single site and already preparing to move.
Yeah. Will you utilize one of the existing facilities or?
It's going to be a new one for us, but one that is very well known in our ecosystem at Flagship, which is also one of the things that I want to bring to the table is being part of his ecosystem is absolutely invaluable in so many dimensions.
For sure.
Including site selection and the ability to quite quickly bring a team into one fantastic site with a lot of capabilities and amenities that are needed to propulse our science into a product and medicine for patients, obviously.
Why were you chosen to be the leader of the new entity?
It's a tough question, I can use it as a positive or negative. One way to answer your question by a question is why me in a guilty kind of way?
I'm not insinuating that it's a question you ask yourself every morning when you wake up.
No.
Well, I mean, you can get into a little bit of your background if you'd like. I mean, you came to Flagship in 2020, is that correct?
2020,
yeah.
As a partner and CEO. Being a partner, which is how we set up his role now to be CEO and partner, get you to precisely be able to be involved in looking at the full ecosystem. And when we saw opportunities, we can have a voice and engage the rest of the ecosystem at Flagship to see how we could collaborate between companies, for instance, or in this case, put companies together. So I do remember that I had that discussion more than a year ago that it may make sense to bring these two companies together. We were probably overs thinking that the combination was so extraordinarily synergistic, but at the right time, it would have made sense to do it. As we went through the process, again, in a very collaborative way with several colleagues in the Flagship ecosystem, I could have been dropped from being the CEO of the organizations, and I feel very humbled and trusted and fortunate to be continuing the journey in this merger organization for sure. But it had made sense for quite some time, and we had a long ways into putting these companies together. Maybe what I bring to the table, especially in these circumstances of igniting energy and being contagious about the belief that we have to something great.
I get that sense very much. It's very your enthusiasm is.
It's only one life, so we're trying to live it with fun and impact. And we're so fortunate to be in this industry where the impact is bettering life of everybody, including ourselves, when we get to the point of becoming patient.
For sure, yeah. As I mentioned, you were with GSK prior to coming to Flagship. What prompted the move from? I always ask this question. It's not uncommon at all for executives to leave big bio for new, emerging, exciting opportunities. But at the same time, regardless of the fact that it's not uncommon, it's still leaving a very relatively safe place, where you could stay there for life if you wanted to. So what was in you? What was in you that prompted you to join Flagship?
It's the second time and I'm doing it. I was raised at Sanofi, or what had become Sanofi, from Ron Poulin, Caventis, Sanofi, and then jumped into a biotech and brought back to the industry a little bit despite what I really wanted to do. I was very happy in this small, fast moving environment that I discovered out of my 15 years at Sanofi with my first biotech. But I could see the impact we will make at GSK, and we can come back to that with this very unique opportunity we had. But after 4 years, I was really looking at getting back to something a little bit more speedy, if you want, and energetic. I think, to me, having done it twice, the balance is, and it's a little bit of a pendulum, I think with Sail, we're getting into something else that I didn't experience before because of the size of the organization and the capital available to the organization.
Yeah.
But you're trading impact for speed. In my own experience, having done it twice, big impact in large pharma, especially when you get into the late stage commercialization, close to market, close to patient. The science that emerge from externally or internally become a way to impact massively shareholders and patient, obviously. And you in biotech, most of us are stuck in the R&D early stage before most of us failing, and a few of us after over 10, 15 years, having the chance to put one product maybe on a market platform company have much more to offer, but very few have multiple products to bring to. So you have speed, but without the impact on biotech, and you have absolutely not speed, but beautiful impact on the pharma side of it. At least from my experience, I don't want to claim that it is a general rules, but it's what I experience. So I've been a little bit in this pendulum, and I'm very happy with my opportunity to have joined Flagship to be back to speed. And with sales, I really think we have impacted speed in one single company, and I'm really looking forward to impacting the industry with this transformation into fully programmable medicine. And I want to do that with speed, which is the tomorrow medicine today, which is actually indicating a very strong sense of urgency. Why patients should wait to be treated. If you could bring science to them, why don't we try to do it faster, increasing the predictability of the outcome, which is solving for their needs, right?
Yeah. You mentioned your time at Sanofi, and from what I understand, you spent quite a bit of that time, or at least a portion of that time in Mexico.
That's right, yeah.
You're French, obviously, so you did work in France. Now you're here in the States. You've been all over the world, and I worked all over the world in this industry. And I remember I had Avat Kavijian on the show.
He's wonderful.
A few months ago. He is wonderful. He's fantastic, and he spent quite a bit of time talking about the immigrant mentality and that culture at Flagship. I mean, you sort of have that in spades, given that you've done work all over the world in this industry. How does that sort of shape that global perspective, shape your leadership style? Why is it important?
First, I'm also an immigrant to this country, so maybe like many others, including one in the US, past generation. We're discussing about your route as well. In a way, being immigrant and first generation bring you in that space where you need to somewhat reinvent yourself. Through my experience, besides being an immigrant and first generation in the US, my experience in Mexico, for instance, and also professionally, and I would also bring my start in the US. There's something very, again, for me, that happened as I put myself in a totally different environment, starting with, and it was Mexico, but it was the US somewhat. I would use Mexico as an example. No language. You don't know the food. You don't know the people. You don't know the culture. You have two ways to do it. You want to bring what you come from into the mix, and you're trapped into working and living in an island, which is where you're coming from, or you open up. And you open up through the pressure of not knowing what to do. And for me, it was exactly what happened in the US as well. When I immigrated, I had no clue what I was doing. Language was not so great. I had a very French accent that I lost since then, as you could see. But Mexico, I didn't speak the language even my first day. And my first day, actually, I was introduced to my predecessor for a farewell party, and we had 250 of my future team members in front of me. And I was expected to speak in Spanish, and I have no clue. And I actually had to decide, am I going to speak in French or English and impose that to them? Or am I going to say, I don't know your language, I'm going to need your help to grow into being able to be part of you and part of his team? And I decided, I remember vividly, it was in me, and I was somewhat frightened, but on the other hand, welcoming the opportunity. And I said, I feel like a baby. I'm going through reborn into an environment, into a language, into a culture that I want to appreciate and go into.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very refreshing. It gives you probably humility. It gives you a sense that, especially in leadership, that you need people more than they need you sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's what I was saying. It had to be daunting.
And you put yourself in that situation. So I've been tested through these several steps. And you have to find in you how you address the adversity and the novelty of a situation. And I found my way. It's just my own way of processing and living the experience. But it gives me today what I hope to be a very open mind and welcoming mind to any voice. I have no problem with diversity. I don't even understand why we're making an issue. I do understand that we're biased, a big problem to solve, but I'm not at all, from my experience and upbringing, coming with hopefully not too many bias. I probably have my biases there, but for the pressure of this experience, a lot of my initial bias has been broken down in little pieces. And I hope I can bring this sense of inclusiveness in the team. And again, if you bring that plus a clear sense of purpose, and you have talented, experienced industry veterans around you, sky is the limit. Yeah.
Well, your English is proving itself right now. How's your Spanish? How's your Spanish after that time?
I was fluent.
All right, I want to spend some time talking about the technology and the platform. So, and I guess I'd preface this part of the conversation with the RNA craze, right?
Right.
You guys are calling it endless RNA. We've seen circular RNA. It seems as though it's sexy right now to put a shape or a letter in front of RNA and go to market.
That is not M like messenger. We need another letter like messenger.
Tell me, let's start with that. Let's start with a sort of a fundamental understanding of why endless RNA.
Yeah.
Why endless RNA? What is it and why?
Yeah. And I will answer with a context of programming the entire medicine. It also means that we need to improve the programming of mRNA. We do program mRNA, don't get me wrong. We can encode through a sequence the translation and ultimately the secretion of given protein by cells by virtue of entering a sequence into the construct of the messenger RNA linear. But it's act like a switch in and off very fast. So you have a burst of protein expressed and then you're done, which pharmacologically speaking limits the applicability in terms of therapeutic area you can get into. To why you have a Cmax get you in some problem that limit the disease you can get into. The quick in and out may not be enough for prolonged expression, but you may need, I would say, for chronic disease, for instance. What we've done with eRNA is adding a dimension of the programmability by prolonging the expression of protein that we can still encode into the eRNA. So we're extending the programmability of RNA and improving the therapeutical power of RNA. The beauty of what we've done at Cells and by combination of these two companies, now we're stacking in the same company mRNA and eRNA. So we can program for quick in and out. We can also, with mRNA, but we can also program a more prolonged and tunable pharmacokinetic by virtue of programming eRNA. But it's only part of the story, and I hope we can discuss about deployment as well, which is also part of the technological stacking that we put together at Cell.
So what I picked up from reading about you was you've got these three pillars. We were just talking about programmable payloads of endless RNA, programmable nanoparticles, and proprietary AI technologies. So does stacking fit in somewhere?
Absolutely, 100%. Because right now what we can do with RNA in general is programming the molecule itself. The 15 years, there is one of these molecules on the market. So something is missing. We're talking about extending and prolonging the pharmacokinetic of expression of protein that certainly will help accessing over disease area that the one vaccines that fortunately we've been able to crack with mRNA. There is something else going on here. We just cannot bring RNA to the right cell. And that is where we have also, by virtue of combining the two companies, brought another programmable solution that I'm excited to talk to you about.
I'm talking about it.
Right, let's do it.
Right, get after it.
First, everything is sourced in nature. So the vision statement is full the language of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious for us today that genetic code gives us the ability to program molecule and certainly RNA, should it be linear or endless RNA, as we call it at Cell. But we also found in nature a programming language that helps us to deploy the RNA or deliver RNA to different cells in a programmable way. It turns out species from all kingdom of life have evolved to do what we're trying to do therapeutically speaking, communicate with each other at cellular level. Species has evolved to defend themselves, to grow and make their ecosystem vibrant, to send molecules to cells, to other species in their immediate surrounding. It's only true in our own body. We talk about the microbiome as one area. There's a lot going on also in the pulmonary area. Plants are able to defend themselves by doing exactly that as a defense mechanism to inject toxins in cells of the pathogenic attacker. They don't run away.
Yeah.
They just have to defend themselves.
Yeah.
So these interspecies, intercellular communications everywhere and coming from billions of years of evolution. And when we looked at it, we realized that this communication are enabled with a nano-sized vesicle secreted by this species to enable this communication. And guess what? These vesicles are chemically encoded to bring the directionality of the communication, targeting aspect of it, and they repeat those. So what we spent 3 years doing in one of our legacy companies is extract this molecular composition from natural nanovesicle coming from 5 kingdom of life. We have 75,000 absolutely novel molecules in our atlas that we have systematically built and curated. And we're applying AI and machine learning to this very vast design domain that far exceed what is possible today with synthetic lipid that are being used for classic LNP, used for any mRNA medicine today. So we're bringing these other dimensions all together now. You can program everything about the medicine. RNA, deployment of RNA. So your AI machine learning become integrative generation of medicine, not just generation of RNA.
Yeah.
So now the world of fully programmable medicine is opening. And the idea that we can go faster, bring predictability and get into disease that we cannot go into by virtue of bringing RNA or mRNA to cells we cannot reach, or repeat those for chronic disease, open water administration, oral water administration, is not anymore a fiction. It's becoming a reality.
Yeah. The leap from the scientific part of what you're discussing, molecular discovery across the animal kingdom to computational biology, AI, machine learning. For some companies, for some people, that's a big leap on many fronts, from many facets, right? Like, I mean, one, you're marrying science and technology that haven't necessarily played well or at all together historically. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how have you, or how are you at Sail sort of integrating those two disciplines of thought? You've got to have computational biologists and artificial intelligence experts and machine learning folks working in lockstep with, scientists who get excited about the discovery of, nanoparticles. Right.
Yeah.
So how do you manage to do that?
Yes, we do already have a AI machine learning team embedded into one of our legacy companies that has already started to bring the power of these capabilities into the more traditional way to hypothesis-driven, experience-driven way to discover, turn the discovery into generation through computing. And we are bringing this team now to the support of generating transportation or deployment of RNA. And ultimately, we want this team to help us to integrated design and generate the entirety of medicine. There's no reason why to stop at component level. We have to do it like a cell phone in a very integrated level. But you're raising a very good question. And here, I'm going to tell you that I don't know how it's going to pan out.
You're allowed to tell me what you don't. It's okay.
But I can also tell you that I checked with several other flagship companies that have already went through the process. And very certainly culturing an adaptation to accepting as a scientist, a computational scientist coming at you and said, I have a totally different way to think about this problem. And I don't necessarily need to know deeply about the science. I need to be able to have access to the data and sample and explore this very vast design domain that actually you have in front of you. But what you don't have is a lifetime of exploring every single combination. And accelerate this process and give you some rules, some handles that get you to understand better what's going on here. It's a bit of a deciphering, you're decoding, if you want. In your case, what is actually available coming from billions of years of evolution. You're going at the generation, the opposite way that we will do with discovery. You accept that the solution is probably there, and you're trying to find the right combination of elements, nucleic acid and nanoparticle, and natural nanoparticle component that together give you the performance that you're looking at delivering as a medicine. So it's a reverse. Define the performance you want, design to reach performance, which is kind of a very interesting. In engineering term, it's something we do all the time because the technology is much more advanced. You basically do performance by design everywhere. But in medicine, it's been quite complicated to do that because we're missing knowledge and ability, or we were missing so far, knowledge and ability to explore large design domain. But with AI machine learning and what we're bringing to the table at Sail, we have a very large design domain on both hands. Think about the combination, it's even faster. And now we're bringing AI ML to help us decipher and ultimately generate novel medicine.
Whenever I talk with companies who are deploying, deploying AI to work through large data sets and help, get closer to the ideal. It's difficult to, sit back and sort of imagine in your head, okay, like the traditional birth of a biopharma company, a biotech happens this way. And it's kind of easy to follow the continuum. A molecule, the viability of the molecule, the CMC assessments, and on down the line. You introduce a whole lot of molecular data to machine learning and AI. And suddenly you have a company that it's not so easy to follow that trend line. So can you share? It's a sort of a vague question, but can you where you are right now? I want to learn if a pipeline is in the works to the degree that you can share. But sort of give us an idea of where Sail is on that continuum, in terms of having a therapeutic.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe stage of a company and what we have the aspiration to deliver in the next, let's say, 30 months or so. We will be in human in the next 30 months with at least 2 programs, if not more. We will and have set the objective to nominate 5 drug candidates in the next 18 months. And as you may have seen, we have engaged through 2 partnerships, sales, and we're very humble and excited to be working with these 2 foundations that represent the best expert and most dedicated foundation against 2 very important diseases, malaria and CF and CFTR. In particular, we have announced partnering with the Gates Foundation and joined the fight against malaria with 2 different programs. We like their commitment, we like their expertise, we want to be part of a journey to make a difference. We're not trying to sample each other with regard to testing one technology or another. We want to engage into making an impact. And we're very proud to be part of this partnership and hopefully bring a solution to malaria, which is still a very deadly disease, unfortunately, to these days. And we also have announced the work with the CFF for CFTR with absolutely striking data generated last year with eRNA. But to your question, and one of the things that you evoke with your question is maybe wrongly, but if you embed into your generation AI, you may have to give up somewhat. What are you going to generate?
I mean,
maybe
that's
what you were going with.
That's great. That's perceptive of you because it's actually more concise than the way that I posed that very roundabout question. But that's exactly the point. I mean, which is a good problem to have, right? It's a good problem to have.
And the beauty of it is we do have a lot of possibilities from an application viewpoint, and it's going to amplify it with AI, which brings us to the real question, at least for me, operating with company, is number one, do we want to do all of that ourselves? And the answer is absolutely no.
Yeah.
And I was going into partnering already with that in mind. We want to work with the best experts, and it's going to take a village, an entire industry, to embrace fully programmable medicine. We are one of the many companies that are trying to do it. We are bringing a unique set of technology. We think we have the most comprehensive, entirely programmable eRNA medicine, but it's only part of what is needed to solve for patient needs. And we're very humble about our role. So bringing expertise, bringing capabilities we don't have is something that we welcome. So if you think like that, you can generate whatever is generated and make it available to companies that want to work with you. That's one. But for internal program, which we do have, it's raised another question. Where do you want to start? And what area do you want to start with? So here we have a few principles. Number one, anything where the biology is not known at this stage for the company, it's a risk we don't want to take. So we want to be in front of proving that our technology works on top of a biology that is de-risked. So that is absolutely clear. We may take, as we create a portfolio, a few risks on the biology side, but as an overwhelmingly principle for deciding what to bring to human, we're going to avoid to take biology risk. But secondly, we want to prove a platform. We want to prove a platform in multiple axes of value creation. We have open, and I'm thinking about it for 3 different things. So if you give me a minute, is route administration, classically for RNA medicine, IV, IM with vaccine for sure. We are opening right now sub-Q and have a line of sight for maybe oral. So route administration, proving that the platform works in human by sampling and selecting programs that help us to check various route administration. Then we have what we call modality. Where do we express the protein? Within the cell, outside the cell, or at the membrane of the cell? Here, let's give us also a way to sample what the technology can do by deciding to sample by virtue of the program we select, this type of modality. And finally, where do we bring RNA? Which kind of cells and tissues we can access? And today we can access 4 different tissues and cells, which when you think about this 3 dimension, we have already a lot to do in rare disease, metabolic disease, which is very unique, and chronic disease in general, obviously vaccines, including cancer vaccines. We have started to crack monoclonal antibody encoded into eRNA, possibly with sub-Q. Think about bringing the field of monoclonal antibody via an RNA technology.
Yeah,
that is already going everywhere from an application viewpoint. And of course, CFTR is bringing us to the lung with a gene, I would say, enzyme replacement or approach to a disease which is worded into a genetic defect. So we are here looking at this stage of the company, enabling the de-risking of some of the key features we want in future medicine, more than trying to open one single therapeutic area and becoming the best in this therapeutic area. We will have to pick up a fight going forward for sure. At this stage, it's a lot about demonstrating that our platform can reach many different areas.
Yeah.
And we're sampling the space at this point of time.
I mean, it's not been smooth sailing, from a financial market standard in the market in general. And it seems like, a lot of companies are realizing that they've got to have either bulletproof platform or products to appeal to investors, right? And more often than not, like from what I'm hearing, product is key.
For sure. It is.
Has that been I mean, you guys launched in Q4 of last year. Not, maybe to some, not the ideal time, although, other people have told me the best companies are born in the face of adversity. What's been your experience, though, in terms of where the company is in its on this phase of its continuum and its reception by the investor market?
Right. So first, we're very well capitalized. The two companies were very well funded. So none of these companies had to raise money immediately. So combined, we have the mean and the runway to bring the technology to human without having necessary to raise money. The partnership that we have announced, plus likely another one at least by mid-year, will bring us extra non-dilutive funding to even prolong the runway and open up possibilities from an application viewpoint and future program viewpoint. It certainly has been very difficult for the entire industry and probably remain for a good part of this year. Not that I have a crystal ball, but it's going to take time to bring back.
These things don't generally change with the flip of a switch.
No, it takes a little bit of time. But a few success will bring us back to being confident and excited about what this amazing industry that we're part of can do to patients. And that is going to come back for sure. I have absolutely no doubt. And you're going to see a next generation of technologies such as what we're doing at Sail Biomedicines coming up front page and front and center to generate significant value and attract significant capital as well. We don't have to fundraise right now. I think the first pass for us is to attract a partner and work with expert and committed strategic partner that want to play along with us, and that will bring money in the bank, to be very clear. But we don't need right now to raise to deliver first in human. Which again, it's a very enviable position that very few of my friends in the industry have right now as a luxury. I do agree with you that it's important to translate. I'm an engineer by background, so maybe my head is into the concreteness of
what sort of engineering?
I'm a chemical engineer.
Chemical engineer. Yeah, that's your Ph.D.
No, my Ph.D. was in material science.
Oh, okay.
But I'm also part of this industry for impact to patients, and I value and love science, but I want to see science making a difference and being part of this industry, translating, building pipeline, and ultimately bringing novel medicine to solve patient need is what it's all about for all of us, I'm quite sure. So it's important for us to demonstrate that we can productize and not only build an amazing engine. And that's fortunately where we already are with many different potential programs, great data generated on the application side of it, line of sight for 5 drug candidates in the next 18 months, 2 first in human in 30 months. And I'm going to get back to the vision is tumor medicine today.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, you're doing all
no better.
You made it clear that you want to do these things quickly. Speed is tomorrow's medicine today. So you say partnerships are sort of key. Right?
Absolutely.
The MO, not too concerned about the runway partnerships. You come to a place like San Francisco during JPM week. Right. What's the goal? Is it sort of to explore these partnerships?
Loaded with partnership discussion, also investor discussion. On our investor already committed to a success through having invested in both company or separated company. We have full support. At least that's how I feel we are based on reception as we process through the transaction. We had enthusiastic support behind this transaction. It makes sense for everybody, including our investors. So I think our investors are probably looking at, what? I want to see that moving in the right direction. I want to see program and data. And that's exactly what I want to see as well.
Yeah.
And I do hope to ignite this sense of energy behind so what we put together here by engaging this week at JPM. I will be tomorrow at the conference at 2 p.m. presenting sales. And I do hope to be able to communicate our energy, passion around what we're trying to do and bring reassurance that this merge comes from 2 growth company, mature technology, that stack what we need to move us to this era of fully programmable medicine. And I'm quite excited for what it means to patient and shareholder. Tremendous value for shareholders and patients here that we're going to unleash.
Yeah. Well, we'll be, you set the bar. We've talked about how speed is important and the patient benefit. We'll be paying attention to trying to hang on. Yes. We'll be trying to hang on for the breakneck ride. So I appreciate you coming to spend some time with me. I know it's a very busy week for everyone involved, and I really appreciate that you made the time to stop in.
Thank you so much, Matt. It was a pleasure meeting you as well.
My pleasure.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm Matt Pillar, and you just listened to the Business of Biotech, the weekly podcast dedicated to the builders of biotech. We drop a new episode with a new exec every Monday morning, and I'd like you to join our community of subscribers at bioprocessonline.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe to our never spammy, always insightful monthly newsletter at bioprocessonline.com/BOB. If you have feedback or topic and guest suggestions, hit me up on LinkedIn and let's chat. And as always, thanks for listening.